You know what breaks my heart? When I see genuinely good people, people with hearts of gold, sitting alone at night, wondering why love seems to pass them by. They're the ones who remember everyone's birthdays, who show up first when someone needs help moving, who listen for hours when a friend is going through tough times. Yet somehow they're the ones who end up eating dinner alone, scrolling through social media feeds filled with couples and families living what seems like a different reality entirely. I've spent decades studying human behavior, connecting with thousands of souls just like you. And there's a profound truth we need to address. Being nice isn't enough. In fact, sometimes being too nice can be the very thing keeping you from the deep, meaningful connections you deserve. Let me share something with you that changed my perspective forever. Years ago, I was counseling a young woman. Let's call her a teacher from the Midwest. She was everything you'd want in a friend or partner, compassionate, giving. Yet there she sat in my office, tears streaming down her face, asking the question that perhaps many of you have asked yourselves. Why does everyone take advantage of my kindness, but nobody chooses me? That question haunted me because I recognized in her story a pattern I'd seen hundreds of times before. It's a pattern that affects so many wonderful people who can't understand why their goodness isn't being rewarded with the love and connection they so deeply desire. Here's the truth, it might shake you to your core. Your niceness might be a shield, not a bridge. It might be the very wall you've built to protect yourself from real intimacy, real vulnerability, real connection. And today, we're going to break down that wall, brick by brick. Let's start with a fundamental truth that might seem counterintuitive. Love isn't about being nice, it's about being real. When you're too focused on being nice, you're often hiding your true self. You're presenting a polished, perfect version of yourself to the world. And perfection doesn't connect. Imperfection does. Authenticity does. Raw, honest humanity does. Think about the last time you fell in love with someone, not just romantically, but even in friendship. Was it their politeness that drew you in? Their ability to always say the right thing? Or was it that moment when they let their guard down, showed their quirks, shared their fears, or made themselves vulnerable in some beautifully human way? The problem with being nice is that it's often a performance. It's what we do when we're following a script of how we think we should behave, rather than allowing ourselves to be who we truly are. And here's the painful paradox. The more we perform, the more alone we feel, because nobody can connect with the performance. They can only connect with a person. I've observed something fascinating in my years of working with people. Those who struggle most with loneliness often have the strongest nice persona. They're the ones who never say no, who always volunteer, who pride themselves on being loved by everyone. But being loved by everyone often means being truly known by no one. When was the last time you expressed disagreement with someone? When did you last allow yourself to be angry in front of others? When did you ask for what you really wanted, instead of saying, I'm fine with whatever you prefer? These moments of honest self-expression are the doorways to genuine connection, yet many nice people avoid them like the plague. You see, there's a profound difference between being kind and being nice. Kindness comes from a place of strength and authenticity. It's choosing to be good to others while honoring your own. Niceness, on the other hand, often comes from a place of fear. Fear of rejection, fear of conflict, fear of not being enough. Let me tell you something that might change your life. You don't have to earn love through niceness. You don't have to collect goodness points that you can eventually cash in for connection. Love doesn't work that way. Connection doesn't work that way. The universe doesn't work that way. The real tragedy isn't that nice people end up alone. It's that they've never been taught how to be both nice and authentic, both giving and boundary, both loving to others and loving to themselves. They've been sold a false sequence. That more niceness equals more love. But love isn't a mathematical equation. It's a dance of authenticity, a celebration of true selfhood, a meeting of real souls. I want you to take a moment right now. Close your eyes if you're comfortable doing so. Think about all the times you've swallowed your true feelings in the name of being nice. All the times you've said yes when your soul was screaming no. All the times you've smiled and nodded while something inside you with it feel the weight of that pattern, the exhaustion of that performance. Now imagine setting that burden down. Imagine what it would feel like to be both good and real, both kind and honest, both loving and boundaried. Imagine the freedom of knowing that you don't have to earn love through endless giving, that you are worthy of connection exactly as you are, not as some polished, perfect, perpetually nice version of yourself. This is where our journey begins. This is where we start dismantling the myths that have kept you trapped in the prison of niceness. This is where we begin to understand why being nice, just nice, might be keeping you from the very thing you desire most, a real, deep, soul-satisfying connection. You see, there's something profound that happens when we start peeling back the layers of our nice persona. We discover that beneath all that politeness, beneath all that people-pleasing, there's a wild and wonderful authenticity waiting to be expressed. Is this authenticity, not our niceness, that draws people in like moths to a flame? I remember sitting with a successful businessman who had everything society tells us we should want. The corner office, the expensive car, the perfect manners. Yet his eyes held a loneliness that no amount of material success could fill. He told me, I spent my whole life being the good guy, the reliable one, the one everyone counts on, but I feel like nobody really knows me. That's the trap of niceness. We become so good at being good that we forget how to be real. We become so attached to our role as the helpful one, the understanding one, the always there for everyone one, that we lose touch with our own needs, our own desires, our own truth. Let me share something revolutionary with you. Your imperfections, your quirks, your occasional moodiness, your ability to say no when you mean no, these aren't flaws to be hidden behind a mask of niceness. They're the very things that make you human, relatable, and deeply lovable. Think about the people you feel most comfortable with. Aren't they the ones who can admit when they're having a bad day? The ones who can disagree with you respectfully but honestly? The ones who don't pretend to be perfect? That's not coincidence. That's the magnetic power of authenticity. But here's where many of us get stuck. We've been conditioned to believe that being authentic means being harsh, that setting boundaries means being selfish, that expressing our needs means being demanding. Nothing could be further from the truth. True authenticity has a gentleness to it, a raw honesty that draws people closer rather than pushing them away. Let me tell you about a profound shift I've witnessed in countless lives. When people start replacing their automatic yes with thoughtful consideration of their true desires, something magical happens. Their relationships don't fall apart. They deepen. When they start expressing their genuine thoughts instead of just agreeing with everyone, they don't lose friends. They gain deeper connections. You see, every time you sacrifice your truth on the altar of niceness, you're not just betraying yourself, you're also denying others the chance to know and love the real you. And here's something that might surprise you. Most people can sense when you're being nice instead of genuine. They might not be able to put their finger on it, but something feels off, disconnected, not quite real. That's why the path to genuine connection isn't about being nicer. It's about being more real. It's about having the courage to show up as yourself, even when that self isn't perfectly polished and pleasant. It's about trusting that your authentic self, with all its beautiful imperfections, is not just enough. It's exactly what's needed. I want you to understand something deeply important. The world doesn't need more nice people. The world needs more real people, people who can be kind without being fake, generous without being martyrs, loving without losing themselves. The world needs people who have the courage to break free from the prison of perpetual pleasantness and step into the freedom of authentic self-expression. This isn't about becoming less kind or less caring. It's about becoming more genuine in your kindness, more authentic in your caring. It's about letting your good heart express itself through the filter of your true personality, not through the mask of social expectation. Every time you hide your true feelings behind a nice smile, every time you say yes when you mean no, every time you laugh at a joke that actually hurts you, you're not just disconnecting from others, you're disconnecting from yourself. And the more disconnected you become from yourself, the harder it becomes to form genuine connections with others. You might be thinking, but if I stop being nice all the time, won't people reject me? Here's the beautiful truth. The people who would reject your authentic self were never truly connected to you in the first place. They were connected to your performance, your nice persona, your people-pleasing mask. And those aren't connections that can feed your soul or fill your heart. Real connection, the kind that banishes loneliness, can only happen when we have the courage to be seen as we truly are. Not as we think we should be, not as others want us to be, but as we actually are in this moment, with all our complexity, all our contradictions, all our humanity. I've seen people transform their lives by making this shift. I've watched as they learned to replace their automatic sorry with genuine self-expression, their constant accommodation with healthy boundaries, their people-pleasing with self. And you know what happens? The right people don't leave. They come closer. They respond to this authenticity with their own authenticity, creating a beautiful cycle of genuine connection. The path out of loneliness isn't about becoming more appealing to others. It's about becoming more real with yourself. It's about developing the courage to let your true self be seen, even when that self doesn't fit the nice mold you've been trying to squeeze yourself into for so long. Now, I want to share something powerful with you. Something that changed everything for me in understanding why nice people often find themselves alone. It's about what I call the echo of authenticity. When you speak your truth, the universe doesn't just hear it. It echoes it back to you through the people and opportunities that come into your life. But here's where nice people often get trapped. They're so busy echoing what they think others want to hear that they've forgotten the sound of their own voice. They become so skilled at reflecting others' needs that they've lost sight of their own light. And you can't create genuine connections from a place of lost identity. Let me tell you about a profound pattern I've observed over the years. The people who struggle most with loneliness aren't those who lack social skills or opportunities for connection. They're often the ones who become masters at making others comfortable while making themselves increasingly uncomfortable. They're the ones who've learned to silence their own inner voice in the symphony of everyone else's needs. Think about this. Every time you override your genuine feelings to keep peace, every time you say it's fine when it's not, every time you laugh off hurt feelings instead of addressing them, you're not just being nice. You're actively participating in your own invisibility. You're teaching others that your true feelings don't matter, and eventually, you start believing it yourself. But here's the transformative truth that can change everything. Your feelings, your thoughts, your desires, they're not obstacles to connection. They're the bridge to it. When you honor them, you create space for others to do the same. When you speak your truth with kindness, you give others permission to be equally. I've watched people transform their lives by making one fundamental shift, moving from nice to real. It's not about becoming less kind. It's about becoming more authentic in your kindness. It's about letting your goodness flow from a place of truth rather than obligation. The most magnetic people aren't the ones who agree with everything or who never ruffle feathers. They're the ones who've learned to express their disagreement with grace, who can say no with kindness, who can stand in their truth while still holding space for others. That's the kind of authentic presence that naturally draws people in, that creates lasting connections, that banishes true loneliness. You see, there's a profound difference between being alone and being lonely. Being alone is a physical state. Being lonely is a spiritual disconnection from ourselves first and then from others. And no amount of niceness can bridge that. Only authenticity can do that. Let me share something that might shake your understanding of connection. The moments that create true intimacy aren't the ones where everything is perfect and pleasant. They're the moments when you dare to be vulnerable, when you risk showing your true feelings, when you let your authentic self be seen, even if that self isn't perfectly nice all the time. This is where the magic happens. When you start speaking your truth, and not with aggression, but with honest kindness, something remarkable occurs. The right people begin to recognize you, not the polished, perfect, perpetually nice version of you, but the real. And that recognition is the foundation of genuine connection. People don't connect with your niceness. They connect with your reality. They connect with the parts of you that resonate with their own truth, their own struggles, their own humanity. Your perfectly nice persona might make others comfortable, but it's your authentic self that makes them feel less alone. Think about the last time you felt truly connected to someone. I bet it wasn't when they were being unfailingly nice to you. It was probably when they shared something real, a fear, a hope, a disappointment, a dream. It was when they trusted you enough to let down their guard and be genuinely themselves. So you think we need to be nice to be loved, but we actually need to be real to be loved. We think we need to be perfect to be accepted, but we actually need to be authentic to be accepted. We think we need to hide our flaws to create connection, but it's actually our willingness to show our flaws that creates the deepest bonds. Your journey from niceness to authenticity isn't just about you. It's about creating a ripple effect of genuine connection in the world. When you dare to be real, you give others permission to do the same. When you honor your truth, you create safe spaces for others to honor theirs. This is where true transformation begins, not in trying to become more likable, but in daring to become more real, not in perfecting your nice persona, but in perfecting your ability to be authentically present, not in avoiding conflict at all costs, but in learning to navigate disagreement with grace and truth. The path forward isn't about adding more niceness to your personality. It's about peeling back the layers of social conditioning to reveal the authentic being you already are. It's about trusting that your real self, expressed with kindness and truth, is not just enough. It's exactly what the world needs. So how do we begin this profound transformation from mere niceness to authentic connection? How do we start dismantling the walls we've built with our politeness and start building bridges with our truth? The journey begins with understanding that every moment of authentic self-expression is an invitation to deeper connection. Let me share with you what I call the I3 pillars of authentic connection. These aren't just concepts. They're doorways to a new way of being, a new way of relating, a new way of creating the connections your heart truly desires. The first pillar is what I call sacred no. This is about understanding that your no is just as holy as your yes. Every time you say no to something that doesn't align with your truth, you're saying yes to authentic connection. Think about that. And you decline an invitation instead of forcing yourself to go and being resentful. You're not just being honest, you're creating space for genuine engagement when you do choose to say yes. Many of you are afraid that if you start saying no, people will leave. But here's the profound truth. The people who leave when you start honoring your boundaries were never truly there for you in the first place. They were there for what you could do for them, not for who you are. And that's not connection. That's transaction. The second pillar is courageous vulnerability. This isn't about spilling your deepest secrets to everyone you meet. It's about having the courage to let yourself be seen, really seen by the right people at the right time. It's about sharing your struggles not as a way to gain sympathy, but as a way to create genuine human connection. I've watched people transform their entire lives by simply starting to tell the truth about how they're really doing when someone asks, "How are you?" Instead of the automatic, "I'm fine," they dare to say, "Actually, I'm struggling today," or "I'm really excited about something." And you know what happens? The right people lean in. They respond with their own truth. Suddenly, there's a real conversation happening instead of a social script being followed. The third pillar is what I call authentic presence. This is about showing up as yourself, not as who you think you should be, not as who others want you to be, but as who you actually are in this moment. It's about trusting that your genuine presence, even when it's not perfect or pleasant, is enough. This means allowing yourself to disagree when you disagree, to feel what you feel, to think what you think, and to express all of this with kindness and respect. It's about understanding that being authentic doesn't mean being harsh, and being kind doesn't mean being fake. You see, loneliness isn't cured by collecting more people in your life. It's cured by creating genuine connections. And genuine connections can only happen when we're being genuine ourselves. Every time you choose authenticity over niceness, you're not just changing your own life. You're changing the very nature of your relationships. What if your imperfections, your quirks, your occasional bad moods aren't flaws to be hidden behind a nice facade, but rather the very things that make you relatable and real? What if the parts of yourself you've been trying to polish away are actually the rough edges that others could hold on to in creating genuine connection? The moment someone stops trying to be nice and starts being real, their whole world begins to shift. Not because they become a different person, but because they finally allowed their true self to be seen. And it's this seen self that others can actually connect with. There's a powerful exercise I want you to try. The next time you're in a conversation, notice how often you want to automatically agree to say what you think the other person wants to hear to keep things pleasant. Then just once choose instead to share your genuine thought or feeling with kindness, with respect, but with truth. Watch what happens. You might feel scared at first. You might worry that you're being difficult or unlikable. But if you stay present, if you keep your heart open while speaking your truth, something remarkable often occurs. The conversation deepens. The connection becomes more real. The space between you and the other person fills with something authentic rather than artificial. This is a paradox that nice people need to understand. Real connection doesn't happen in the space of perfect agreement and perpetual pleasantness. It happens in the space of shared humanity, of authentic expression, of genuine presence. It happens when we dare to be seen as we are, not as we think we should be. Your journey from niceness to authenticity isn't about becoming less considerate or less kind. It's about becoming more real in your kindness, more genuine in your consideration. It's about letting your good heart express itself through the filter of your true personality rather than through the mask of social expectation. Every time you choose authenticity over automatic niceness, you're not just changing a behavior, you're altering the very foundation of how you relate to others and to yourself. You're creating a new pattern of connection based on truth rather than pleasing, on authenticity rather than appearance. As we come to the close of our time together, I want to share something profound with you, something that might just change everything. The loneliness you feel isn't a punishment for not being nice enough. It's not a sign that you need to try harder to please others. It's actually a sacred call from your soul asking you to come home to your authentic self. You see, the universe has a peculiar way of working. The more we chase connection through niceness, the more it eludes us. But the moment we dare to be real, truly, authentically real, connections begin to form in ways we never expected. It's like learning to dance with life instead of trying to control it. Well, you'd understand something deep in your bones. Your worth isn't measured by how many people you can please or how many times you can say yes when you want to say no. Your worth is inherent, unchangeable, and complete. You don't need to earn love through endless giving. You don't need to prove your value through perpetual pleasantness. Think about this. Every great love story, every deep friendship, every meaningful connection in history wasn't built on niceness. It was built on authenticity, on the courage to be real, on the willingness to stand in one's truth while still remaining open to. That's the kind of connection your soul is yearning for. The path forward isn't about becoming more skilled at pleasing others. It's about becoming more skilled at being true to yourself while still maintaining your natural kindness. It's about understanding that authenticity and kindness aren't opponents. They're dance partners in the beautiful choreography of genuine connection. I want to share with you what I call the S7 Truths of Authentic Connection. These aren't just ideas. They're doorways to a new way of being. First step, your authenticity is more valuable than your niceness. When you speak your truth with kindness, you create space for real connection. Your boundaries aren't walls. They're the foundation of genuine relationships. Every time you honor them, you teach others how to truly connect with you. Your imperfections aren't flaws to be hidden. They're bridges to genuine connection. Your willingness to be imperfect gives others permission to be real. Fourth, your feelings aren't inconveniences. They're messengers. When you honor them, you show others it's safe to be genuine with you. Your needs aren't burdens. They're valid parts of who you are. Expressing them clearly and kindly creates the possibility for real mutual understanding. Your disagreements aren't failures. They're opportunities. When handled with authenticity and respect, they deepen connections rather than damaging them. Solitude isn't a punishment. It's preparation. Sometimes we need to be alone to remember who we are so we can connect from a place of truth. The journey from niceness to authenticity isn't always easy. There will be moments when you'll be tempted to slip back into the comfortable patterns of people-pleasing. There will be times when speaking your truth feels scarier than staying silent. There will be situations where being real feels riskier than being nice. But here's what I want you to remember in those moments. Every time you choose authenticity over automatic niceness, you're not just changing your own life, you're changing the lives of everyone around you. You're showing others that it's possible to be both kind and real, both loving and truthful, both caring and boundaried. Think about the ripple effect of your transformation. When you start honoring your truth, you give others permission to honor theirs. When you start setting healthy boundaries, you teach others how to create them too. When you start expressing your genuine feelings, you create safe spaces for others to do the same. You're not just changing your own story. You're helping to change the collective story of how we connect with each other. You're part of a greater movement toward more authentic, more meaningful, more genuine human connection. Remember this. The world doesn't need more nice people who are disconnected from their truth. The world needs more authentic people who have the courage to be real while remaining kind. The world needs more people who understand that true connection doesn't come from being perfect. Your journey from niceness to authenticity isn't just about ending loneliness. It's about beginning a new way of living. It's about creating connections that nourish your soul rather than drain it. It's about building relationships based on mutual truth rather than mutual pretense. As you leave here today, I want you to carry this truth in your heart. You don't have to earn love through niceness. You don't have to prove your worth through perpetual pleasantness. You don't have to sacrifice your authenticity on the altar of acceptance. Your path to genuine connection, to real soul-satisfying relationships, begins the moment you decide to be real. It starts when you choose to honor your truth while still holding space for kindness. It blossoms when you realize that your authentic self, expressed with love and respect, is the greatest gift you can give to the world. The loneliness you feel today isn't the end of your story. It's the beginning of your transformation. It's not a sign that you're doing something wrong. It's an invitation to start doing something differently. It's your soul's way of telling you that it's time to move from the shallow waters of niceness into the deep ocean of authenticity. When you dare to be real, the right people will come. When you honor your truth, genuine connections will form. When you stand in your authentic power while keeping your heart open, you'll attract the kind of relationships that your soul has been yearning for all along. The time for mere niceness is over. The era of authenticity is here. And you, yes, you are ready to lead the way, not by becoming someone different, but by finally, fully, and freely being exactly who you are.